The 79 grand final, you're playing for Valleys. You absolutely thrashed Souths, coached by Wayne Bennett. Did you make a prank phone call to Wayne
I knew you were
night?
going to ask that question. I thought, oh no, I hope she doesn't. Yeah, I was a 19-year-old kid. We won the grand final 26-0, and of course in the dressing shed we were throwing the beers down. I got on the phone and I rang South's club and said, Senior Detective Sergeant Merv Hopner here from the City CIB. I'd like to speak to Sergeant Bennett, please, Mr. Bennett. And said, oh, look, the players are all over there. I realise that, but it's an important police matter. And there was quiet in the clubhouse, not a word, and then I heard this, hello. And I said, oh, g'day, Wayne, it's Wally here from Valleys. I said, have you bastards managed to score a point yet? And the phone went down. And blokes often said to me, how come Wayne hated you so much? I said, well, I was a big mouth. I was a kid. I was 19. I shot my mouth off, and Wayne denied that pretty much all of his life. And then one time he said to me, he said, remember when you claimed that you did that? He said, that was me.
You don't want to get off on the wrong foot with Wayne. It's a long way back.
A special guest on the program today is Wally Lewis. Well, how's that nose coming along? Another bump last week?
Yeah, well, she's been broken 5 weeks in a row now, and they've run a bit of a betting ring down at Valleys for 6 on today.
At Valleys, you're forging this courageous reputation. You're playing tough, you take the ball up, you take the hit-ups, you take on the front rowers without any question. This is one of the most shocking things I've ever seen.
This incident where Mark Graham is running hard and he runs into Wally Lewis and obviously caught Lewis with the shoulder, and Wally Lewis, we think, could have almost swallowed his mouth guard. Now you can see Lewis gasping for breath. Referee Eddie Ward blows time out. Lewis signalling to trainer Brian Kavanagh desperately to get mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Mark
Graham nearly kills you in that moment. What happened? What did you remember?
The last game of the year, he hit me. It was my fault. My dad told me it was my fault. You put your head in the wrong spot. You went in there and he hit you with your elbow, and he used to say, that's a footballer's best friend, an elbow when you're running in. He got me and I couldn't breathe. Thankfully, a doctor actually jumped the fence and come running onto the field and started giving me mouth-to-mouth. And my father, prior to his passing, still used to say, that's the biggest mistake you've ever made in your football career.
Green able to stand up and get the way then to Dawes. Dawes back inside to Lewis. Lewis crashing through. Here's another one. Lewis over underneath the posts. And Winner Manly hit the 40 points.
By the time you moved away from Valleys, it was a bit of a homecoming for you to Wynnum Manly, a club that's very familiar to your family. Your dad was associated with that club for a long time. Did that feel like the right step?
Yeah, well, Dr. Tom Dooley, the Valleys president, in his honesty, said, we can't afford to pay you. I was on $13,000. I thought that was a lot of money. He said, we can't keep you, you're going to have to go to Wynnum. I went to Wynnum and I was on probably 3 times, or 2.5 times the pay. It was, to me, a team that I still regard as the most highly entertaining team that I ever played in. The only discomfort about playing for Wynnum is they went broke. I was there 84, didn't get paid 84, 85, 86, 87. So that was the end of it.
Canescu inside for Fortin. Fortin beat one tackle. He's got Lewis with him, and Lewis scores!
Fellow immortal Andrew Johns said without Wally Lewis, there would be no Queensland spirit. So are you responsible for whatever was burning in your heart and your competitive desire has now swept across the entire state?
Well, I was part of the Queensland spirit. We were in there, and whilst it's always very nice and very complimentary to get a little bit of that, I think that there's also the importance of reminding people that Queensland side that we had that went on, it was something else. And I can remember in one of the press conferences that I did with the former Queensland Rugby League boss, Senator Ron McAuliffe, and it was all about asking them, Senator, who was most responsible? And he said, you want the answer on who's most responsible for Queensland's success? I can reveal that it's the Lord, Jesus Christ. And I put my head back and I thought, oh no, Ron, don't, here we go. And all the journos started to laugh. Oh, now Jesus Christ is playing for Queensland. Oh, and they laughed. And he turned around, he said, all right, smart ass. He said, take this as an answer. fullback Colin Scott, the rest of the back line, Kerry Bowstead, Gene Miles, Mal Meninga, Chris Close, Wally Lewis, Mark Murray, forward pack, Paul Vaughton, Wally Fulton-Smith, Brian Niebling, Greg Kinescu and Dave Brown. Every one of those blokes is born within 18 months, 2 weeks and 2 days of each other. Every one of those blokes, by the time that they played first grade football, had played against or alongside each other at least 30 to 40 times. Every one of those blokes, by the time he went on, and starting, you could see all the journos looking down there, scribbling it, racing out, wanting to get it on the radio first. And he said, so, with all those blokes playing football together all of that time, the Lord is responsible. And they raced out, and I looked at Ron and I said, I didn't even think of that. And he said, think of what? And I said, we're all born in 59 or 60. He said, I've got no idea whether that's right, but you get rid of those dickhead journalists pretty quick, didn't you?
Now there's a sight to see. Big Artie in the maroon of Queensland and captain.
That incredible night, 1980 at Lang Park, Arthur Beetson leading the way, showing you the way. What did it mean to be a Queenslander at Lang Park on that moment?
Unbelievable, because Arthur used to sort of be in control of every training session, every talk that we had. He came up to me and he said, I don't know a lot about your football, but you wouldn't be here if you couldn't play, so good luck. And I sort of, OK. And I watched all the other talks that went around and he spoke to them with quite length, and I thought, I didn't get much in there. And then he patted me on the back as we went onto the field, and I felt 10 foot tall and bulletproof. And I followed him around that night like a bad smell.
But you had to follow Artie. He had that offload.
What he not only did to inspire the teammates around him, what he did to inspire the people in the grandstand that night, I don't think I'd ever seen a Queensland supporting crowd that had raised to that level before. So
by the next year, you're 21, you're the heir apparent, you're the Queensland captain, and was this the first time that Artie threw you into 5'8"?
He pulled me aside and said, we're going to pick you at 5'8". I said, I've never played 5'8" in my life. And he said, oh, by the way, he said, you're going to be the captain. I said, I can't be captain, Arthur. I said, I'm 21 years of age. And he said, you talk a lot on the field, you organise a lot on the field, and you can read play. And he said, and the one thing that you love doing is leading by example.
Moving it wide, Lewis through the gap, he could score, he's going to score, yes, no double movement, fair try.
I took that as a wonderful compliment, but I still thought that I was learning from him. And he said, mate, in my last game, I was still learning.
What style of captaincy did you have? Did it have to be Wally's way? Were you a bit of a dictator?
If there's one thing that I was always quite happy that I did, was be involved in conversation. I never shut up on the field. Direct players what to do, where to go, how to do it, and sometimes players suffer a little bit of confusion out there. They're not sure what they should be doing. And if there's one thing that I was able to do, and I take no credit for it, but read the play. And everyone used to say, you read the play? And I said, what's read the play? Said, well, you can tell where the weaknesses in the opposition defence are. I used to sort of come up with some plays where I'd think, OK, there's not an opportunity at the moment, but let's create one. Make sure that we, again, come up with that favourite saying of mine, create doubt in the mind of the defender. And that's what it's all about. If you can make sure that he's totally unaware of what's going to be taking place, but fearful of it actually being put there, you've got him beat. Fatty gave me a rap one time where he was talking about me reading the play, and it was where I said to him, Fatty, in 3 tackles time, there's going to be a gap out here. I'll make sure that I put you into a hole there. Just go through it. Anyway, it went along, and I put the ball into the hole, and Fatty ran onto it and went. He said, at the end of the game, he said, I've never seen a hole that big in my life. Where did you get that? And I said, I don't know. It's just become part of the game through listening to my dad, listening to and watching the great players. And Beetson was able to do it with enormous quality.
And even if the scoreboard didn't reflect that Queensland were on top, could you sense a turn or a shift in the game where you go, we've got them beat here? Yeah,
a lot of the times. And I used to do a little bit of loud-mouthing and inspiring the team, and also making sure that I did that making that claim loud enough for New South Wales to hear it as well.
There's a bit of a stink going
You remember this one. So Queensland's first ever whitewash of the series.
After an all-in brawl where we had Greg Kinescu sent to the sin bin and Phil Daly, then I got shown the door. The cans started. They flew from everywhere, and I can remember speaking to a couple of journalists at the end of the game, and they say, "You Queenslanders you're weird people. You whinge like shit about how much grog costs, and then you go and throw it away." That was a part of it, I guess, that you don't like to see, and they're not good PR exercises, particularly for those that aren't really rugby league fans. They're just people that see it on the news and say, have a look at those dickheads.
No, these scenes are iconic.
They
it
are.
became feral, but that was part of the charm.
I can remember getting a message in. They're still trying to clear the field from the cans that are thrown. They're going towards the referee, and I thought, we got this.
Like, the referee almost needed a police escort to get out. I think they started chanting, "Send him off." They absolutely lost the plot in the best possible way, because all of a sudden it wasn't, Queensland weren't just the 13 men out on the field. It was everyone north of the Tweed. The
swelling of the pride for the Queensland guys and their intent to go on with it and repay the crowd for what they'd put in from the role that they'd played. But just again to talk to a couple of the New South Wales guys after the game, they were saying, Jesus, we thought we were going to get our heads knocked off.
Welcome to Queensland. Beautiful one day, absolutely bonkers the next.